bill that said the sewer, and we're, turning down the extension, and we're all this other stuff. And I was like, that is not what Senate Bill 858 says. Every single one of those people stayed there while I waited for my own state rep to get me a copy of the bill that they had just passed. And then I had to look on 2 different phone screens to try to compare which of the 29 executive orders that they had just chosen to codify in this bill. And they stayed, hundreds of people. I mean, it was like 25 minutes that I had to sit there and read the whole thing, and everybody just stayed and they were praying, and they were, it was just amazing. It was in that moment that I knew, wow, God had me run for state rep, because I now know, and have known for years, a lot of those state reps that are there. And they may not like me, but they know that I know what I'm talking about. And at least a few were willing to listen. And it's all part of God's plan. We all have a job to do now. And I have no idea where this is going to lead me. All I know is I needed to change the name of my law firm to Restore Freedom with Katherine Henry, because I'm not in this for the remainder of 2020, which right now would be great, because that's just one more day.
That's funny.
But no, I know I'm in this truly for the long term, and I'd like to think that there's going to be a Staples easy button, or that there's going to be a room full of, like, I had walked in and you were not here to hear me speak. You were here because you were all licensed attorneys who love the Constitution as much as I did, that you were ready to represent people and form an alliance. Are there any other attorneys in the room? I was really hoping for at least one. Okay. Well, as far as I know, I'm kind of it. There are attorneys that are filing things. But even those that are calling themselves constitutional attorneys, or Christian constitutional attorneys, or even people that have been working their way up through the courts in our state, or even in federal court, fighting for people, they don't have as much of a constitutional perspective as I would hope. I'm just going to put it that way. Not saying they're terrible people, but there's some basic principles here that matter. Number one, if you're saying, and maybe I got the facts of this scenario wrong, but let's say you are a county board of commissioners and you have voted unanimously to accept or approve a resolution that basically says, we're not going to punish people who are business owners and they want to open their businesses. They're not going to be fined or whatever. Let's say that happens. And then council, representing the board, says, you can't do that. You have to follow this. You have to follow the law, or you have to, whatever they're claiming you have to follow. I don't care how fancy of a suit that attorney has on. Obviously, I don't wear fancy suits. I think I brushed my hands, I'm sure. I don't care how many more years of experience that attorney has than I do. I don't care what kind of big law firm, what fancy paycheck that attorney gets. He or she is wrong. Don't ever let someone who's in a position that they should know better talk you out of your rights. Or don't let them be comfortable enough to ask every single person that you know in government. Everyone needs to know what the Constitution says, because that's going to help us fight for our rights. And as people who are elected, the more they know what the Constitution says, the more they're actually able to follow it. Kind of how that works, isn't it? So I have a couple of irons in the fire, so to speak, in terms of cases I'll get into in a moment, because I think that was one of the questions, maybe, that I saw briefly. But the education piece is something that I know is my calling at this point. So besides traveling 4 hours one way to speak to a room full of people about the Constitution or things involved with that, how am I planning to educate millions, or say 10 million people in Michigan about our Constitution? Well, we have an app we're creating with our extremely limited budget. How many of you have heard of Stand Up Michigan, or the Unlock Michigan petition? Okay. Yeah, it's kind of sad for me, because they weren't really being nice to me. But everybody knows who they are, okay? If you look up their campaign finance stuff, and I haven't even looked since the last reporting, which was July, they have a donation, and I was able to pay the printer. And we've needed something like that. People have been there to donate, not necessarily exactly what we needed, but just following the calling that they had to give in that way. So, at any rate, on a very limited budget, we have been able to start some things that I think are going to grow exponentially. Hopefully in about a week or two, our Constitution app, which will have the US and Michigan Constitutions, will be available so you can download it, because there is no such thing right now, where you can just, on your phone, access the US Constitution and our state constitution. And so when you're in a city council meeting, or a township hall meeting, or a school board meeting, and you're like, that doesn't sound right. I think we have rights here, but I don't know what they are. You can look them up. I think that'd be nice. I would have appreciated that a lot myself, because I was no constitutional expert all these years that I thought I kind of was, but I was nowhere close. There's stuff in there, there's all kinds of, I don't even know everything that's in our state constitution. That thing's long. So we're gonna have that, and eventually, when I get a free moment, child, get off the bar. Thank you. Or other child. I primarily was yelling at my child. My annotations, a way to connect, so that you're not just reading the language of the constitutions, but you're able to go, crap, this police officer says I can't do this, or I think I had a question on here. We get literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people that reach out to us one way or another every single day. Right, Lori? It's fun. I think there's some voicemails that have come in today. Well, I've had really crappy cell phone reception. I can't really take a call anyway. I think one was saying that I don't remember where they were, but they went in to go pay their tax bill, and the township won't let them come in and pay their property taxes. And in fact, I guess the local police are saying they're going to be arrested if they try to go in to physically pay their taxes without a mask on. I'm like, what do? I got to pay my taxes. So, I don't have an easy answer for that, and I hope I can think of something that will help that individual. But wouldn't it be nice if he or she had on their phone the Constitution right then and there when an officer approached them and tried to say that they had to follow some stupid order? That they could go, actually our Constitution says this. I mean, that would feel a lot better to them, I'm assuming. The more tools you have at your disposal, the more confident you can be in asserting your rights. We're also going to have a print version of that because, well, if anybody has my cell phone service and then they drive over here, they're going to need a print version, and or most of the UP.